The age of imperialism was a time period beginning around 1870, when a modern relativity developed where nations were taking over less developed areas, colonizing them or influencing them in order to expand their own power. A perfect example of this would be imperialistic takeover by India and by the British. India was rich in natural resources and land. Textile crafts were the country's bread and butter: cotton, silk, and later jute. India in the 18th century was an industrial giant and the biggest exporter in the manufactured goods. India's trading system was the envy of the world. Silk and other textile made fortunes.
The reason why India was so rich back in the day, is because their hard work in the crops and selling and trading and such was so good back then that they were one of the richest countries around. And but British ruined that, because now they're like pretty poor and stuff. And but they used to be very rich, like China or not an NASCAR, but yeah, they're poor now.
Europe now saw India as a prize, and Britain would stop at nothing to take control of India. India was politically unstable, and Britain traders would gain good footholds and slowly began to gain control of India. They took power in rich northeast state of Bengal, collecting taxes for Sultan. They formed alliances with princes, gaining allies and control. However, the southern part of Mysore blocked their progress.
Mysore was a garden of wealth from end to end. Bananas, cloves, cinnamon, rice, silk, cotton, traded by a water trade system, made this province very wealthy. The people were prosperous and self-sufficient, with a wonderful trade system within, not needing to share their trade with the outside world. They were cocooned in a protected world where they prospered.
Tipu. He was a Muslim. Most people called him the tiger of my soul. He was determined to inherit the Hindu princedoms that he inherited from his father. He refused Pharaoh as a stake in his state economy.
The British, along with their Indian allies, repeatedly attacked this area, determined to grab Mysore's wealth. The British suffered a series of humiliating defeats at the hands of a purely Indian army. Tipu fought back with cavalry with arms quick and clever. Their tactics repeatedly fooled and mocked the British. But eventually, the British got the upper hand and defeated Tipu. Tipu had to give up half his land and pay an enormous revenue to the British. Don't tell them.
We have dominated you. Now you must give us half your land and pay us enormous debt.
Okay, goes your hand.
Tipu would not pay his taxes to the British. The British got mad because they really wanted their tax money from Tipu. So they took his two sons for ransom, and Tipu finally did pay his taxes, but the British weren't satisfied because they're very greedy. That's my research.
In the summer of 1799, two armies under the British command attacked Tipu's fortress. After 2 weeks of siege, Tipu's food ran out for him and his army. The British attackers overwhelmed his capital fortress, and Tipu died fighting.
Get him.
After the British took over the Mysore's, this marked the start of British direct involvement in Indian affairs. Within 50 years, Britain had established colonized rule in India. This once trading empire, one of the pillars of civilizations, collapsed. India was beginning steadily weakened, and its vast wealth bled away westward.
Tipu. He was a Muslim.
I shall check where they are. Oh, I'm died.
What is it?
The people were prosperous and self-sufficient.
Can you see this in the camera?
We're rolling.